So greetings to you all. It's Sankranti time in India, and it's referred to by different names in different languages. And it's celebrated in Nepal and many countries in Southeast Asia as well. So we celebrate our innate connection with the natural and the social world. Basically, festivals are meant to celebrate the earth and the community. So I really thank you all very much for joining us today. And I thought we'll give you a glimpse of the drums of Eastern Himalaya from the Limbu community to start with. Lizzie, could you kindly play the video? Okay, I think the sound is an issue, so we'll move further ahead. And but this is the last year Sankranti. We were there, and such a beautiful festival. As you know that I'm going to introduce the practice of contemplation of nature today to all of you. And this has been a journey of about 15 years. And the session plan, what we have set for our 75 minutes today is 5 minutes of introduction, which I'm going to do now. And then we'll have a couple of minutes to settle down with awareness of natural being. 10 minutes to introduce the benefits and practice. Mostly we'll go to the practice session, 25 minutes, 25 minutes long. And 2 minutes to share and chat. Any feedback that you might want to give, and then about science and theory of the contemplation of nature. And then we'll have a Q&A. And I'll brief you on the applied side of contemplation of nature, what we do in the foundation. So as you know that we are talking contemplation, so it's like a meditative practice. And if you were to look at the literature today, now all the mindfulness and meditative practices literature, there are 3 common words which are used: love, light, and peace. Now, most of us would like to get to this state of being kind, seeing the radiant connection with the world at large, and feel the peacefulness. The thing is, how do we go about it? And that's where the myriad of ways are there, and more are evolving. And there have been since the time immemorial. Most civilizations have had several practices. So is the sound quality okay? Okay, thank you. So now with the nature, actually, natural environment offers us an opportunity to begin the journey of this love, light, and peace, and open doors to deeper experience. It's not surprising that intuitively, most of us, irrespective of age, cultural background, etc., are attracted to be in close proximity to the world of nature. Scientifically also, one of the most distinguished scientists of this century, the biologist E.O. Wilson, and others have articulated the theory of biophilia. Biophilia implies that humans have a phylogenetic continuity with all other species. Now, what does that mean is basically that we have a genetic imprint to connect with the natural world. Now, this is something It's a very powerful statement to be saying that, because we know that most other species relate with habitats in a very specific way. And we have moved too far away in a way from the habitat to be, and we still feel that we are doing fine. And so therefore, a lot of scientific work has happened by the psychologists, by the neuroscientists, on how this disconnect with the natural world is affecting us. And the anxiety and the stress disorders that are on the rise, the epidemics uh, of the chronic disorders, the hypertension, and many of them are actually being closely related to our distance from the natural world. And without going much into the uh, science, what I want to do today to begin with is to offer some kind of a settling down to a couple of minutes to you. And then we will explain the concept and we'll go for the deeper 25 minutes practice. And then we can discuss a lot. So I would like to invite you to sit down in any comfortable way, which I presume you are. And then gently remind yourself that I am a biological organism. Now, if we ask this question in a meeting, perhaps you go to a meeting hall and ask how many biological organisms are here. People would start to look, where is the cockroach, where is the spider? But they will not think that I am a biological organism as well. So we need that kind of an awareness. Now, then let's remind ourselves that as a biological organism, I have a dynamic relationship with the environment, just like most other biological organisms do. Then think about it, that I am dependent on the natural world for most fundamental needs. Just give a pause and feel that I am nourished by the elements. And let's spend a minute of silence in gratitude for the nature that we have, which is serving our most fundamental needs. Relax your body, feel the rhythm of a biological organism. There are involuntary functions happening every second, many functions inside the body which we are not even aware of. Such a complex world, and being nourished by all the elements. And what a beautiful body to enjoy and be with the earth. Take a deep breath and feel that every minute we are breathing, and we need to breathe the freshness of the environment. And this pandemic has really brought everything to our face. That what are the most important things in life is to be able to live in a clean, beautiful world, healthy world. So the mindfulness and meditative practices are kind of benefits are not new to most of the people who are joining today. Now, We know that it has a significant benefits at the psychic level, the mental level, cognitive level, physical level. Means it's the literature is like if you Google today, I think more references would come to mindfulness than anything else of the benefits. Now the challenge remains as to how. How do we access mindfulness? Because that's the big deal, is to find ways to do it. And what I have felt in my experience is that uh, nature, the biophilia component of nature makes it more accessible to us. Because we are naturally have a genetic imprint to connect with nature. So instead of, so that's, I think, as a beginner's journey, if I were say we are in a primary school of mindfulness, then I think the nature is our playground and the God. So how will we do it? Now, I'm just going to explain in a very simple way the practice, and then we will get to the practice. Now, the three simple steps are a gentle gaze. So this is a meditation with open eyes, and we need to have very comfortable position of the eyes, and I hope every one of you has a plant or something to look out of the window or something where you can be with the natural object. And the blinking is a natural thing, of the eyes. So don't worry that we have to gaze like a constant gaze. We have to gaze, we have to be comfortable, blink as often as we need to. The second step is that we are accepting everything that's happening. So I'm not going to judge anything out of this plant or out of this being that I am observing. And just being. So means whether it could have been a beautiful color, or if the season was right, it would have had some flowers and some fragrance and this and that. I don't think there is any, we are not going to make any judgment calls on this. Just be, gently accept. And then we have already reminded ourselves of this gratitude, that how much fundamental nature is to our needs, so that we don't need to do anything about. So now I will explain the three steps a little bit more in the next slide. So just to repeat, enjoy the experience with eyes open comfortably. Acceptance is actually coming from the fact that we don't want to get into cognitive ways or moral ways of looking at anything. We are just experiencing it and being with it. And the feeling of gratitude evokes kindness. Now the duration is that we have taken is 23 minutes at least, according to the MBSR research. And so we are going to follow that one. What I'll do is that once you have comfortably focused on the plant or whatever you are looking at, preferably a stationary thing like a moving bird or a pet is sometimes more challenging. And I'll give a bell, and then we will practice for 23 minutes. I will give you a bell every 5 minutes just to make sure. So on the 10th minute, now as we begin, I'll give you a bell, and then on the another 10th minute, I'll give you a bell, and then at the third minute, so 23 minutes we'll practice. So let's get ahead with it and see how much, what we feel, because it's in the experience that's the main thing. So let's begin. As we gently gaze, let's see that our neck is comfortable, shoulders are relaxed. There is no tension in the body. With full acceptance, we are being with the element of nature. Mindfulness is to bring the drifting attention back and back again. It's just a matter of practice. Keeping the eyes open helps. Soft gaze, gently being with the object. No judgment, no cognitive, no moral, no issues, just being, just be. Keep yourself relaxed. There is no dress code, no postures, just the gentle heart and a soft gaze. Gentle gaze, acceptance, and being with. Being comfortable if the mind drifts us around. As soon as we're reminded, we come back to be with a gentle gaze. Just being, accepting. As we are sitting, just be comfortable. No tension, just being comfortable. Neck is relaxed, shoulders are relaxed, knees are relaxed. Gently gazing and accepting. accepting, and keeping the gaze steady. Blink as you need to be relaxed. And being supported by nature, all the biological rhythms are taking place. And taking a pause to be with you, the natural world. Steady gaze, acceptance, relaxed. Relax the neck, relax the body parts. Just keep the gaze steady, being accepted. Neck is relaxed, shoulders relaxed, knees are relaxed. Soft gaze. No judgments. Just be. Now gently close your eyes. Just be. Excellent. Gently open the eyes. And now we can talk more. Welcome back to the session. This is just a slide to show you in how many different situations mindfulness contemplation of nature can take place. These are from our past work. Just few examples. On the top left is from Chile, and I'm so happy Juan is here. Juan to joining us from Chile to organize this. It was in a church in the evening, late evening, and we set up. You can see that it's easy to organize it in meeting rooms. That's how, and make more meaningful and in-depth connections with colleagues as we start the meetings or conferences. The middle one is from Bhutan, and it can be done outdoors. Take a break. The top right is from the American University. Professor Paul Wapner teaches international relations, and we did this contemplation with the students. They all made a bouquet and brought it to the class. Then on the beach, on the bottom left, you can see these are the park rangers. They have a very stressful job in the marine protected areas because of illegal fishing and everything else that happens. And then they can take a break as well to have more resilient life for themselves. A mindfulness break, serving the nature. Here's a group of scientists. Okay, so can you hear me now? Is it better? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so the bottom center is the group of scientists, and they are also practicing there in the Center for Evolutionary Science in the Ministry of Science. And then the right one you can see is a group of students who have organized a collage of natural objects to contemplate on. And so there can be a variety of ways to practice contemplation of nature. But 3 steps we have articulated as practice: soft gaze, and acceptance, and compassion. And then the duration is 23 to 25 minutes. So let's go further on then about the now I would request you to get a little bit of a feedback in the chat box on how did you feel now, because I can articulate them for what I have had from other participants, but you can also do the same. And we have had participants say that it gives us some tranquility, it brings peace and calmness. Then we also have this power of effect, which means there are less distractions and improved concentration and focused positive thinking and ability to relax and happier mood states. And as you can see in the chat box, several participants are feeling the same. I'm so grateful to all of you for feeling this stillness and peace. And it brings us a kind of a naturalness orientation, which means being in touch with inner self. And a greater degree of autonomy from the influence of a highly conditioned mind. So this, the meditators, the gurus are talking about monkey mind all the time when they are talking to the people like us who are novice, and trying to practice. So the nature helps us because we are naturally aligned, we have a genetic imprint to connect with nature. So it makes an easier practice in the kindergarten stage of mindfulness and meditation. And next, we can then talk about a little bit of a graph. It's easy. to see that you have, if you on the y-axis, you have happiness, and on the x-axis, you have intensity of emotions. And intensity of emotions, then if you are, so the what we want is that this roller coaster of, of being bored and excited, that's what we are generally. So when we have less happiness and less emotions, we feel bored, then we want to do something. And then there is this hyper excitement, which is on the right corner, where there's a lot of emotion and a lot of happiness. And then again, we start to feel bored, and there is this cycle going on. Now, once in 24 hours, it is nice to break this and get into a more tranquil state. And this calmness and beauty, and many of you have said, and it comes with practice. For some of us, it takes longer to get into this tranquil mood state. And as I said again, I will mention that this nature affinity, the nature connect helps us, although there are very deep traditions as well. So we can go further on into the why nature especially affects us. Why is it that nature is helpful? So this is biophilia. I mentioned that we are like akin to other species. We have a genetic connect with the natural world. And there is concurrence from the field of psychology that we have a landscape affinity. And in the Eastern worldview, now just to give you some reference from the landscape affinity work, there's it's proven that the human beings don't connect with a very deep forest. Human beings connect with sparse vegetation, with signs of human paths, or because you know that we are a social animal as well at the same time. So we need to connect with the natural as well as the social world. And that's what brings the effect. So togetherness with other human beings, and togetherness with the natural world. That's the landscape affinity concept. And then the Eastern thought, of course, there is this, that we are made of the all same elements. Then in the Japan, they use this word called Shirin Yoko, which means that you walk in a forest, and that helps, we call it forest bathing. There is a lot of research which is talking about chemicals and secondary chemicals in the forest, and that's how the effects on the dopamine effect and this and that. But that's all great, means the sum and all of it is that we need to spend time, and we need to take out those 25 minutes and be with the natural world in a more non-cognitive way. And then it meets our emotional needs. And I will come to that in a bit, because that's something we of course know of nature as in a very utilitarian way, that, okay, it gives us oxygen, it gives us fuel, it gives us shelter, building material, but we don't know how, often don't talk about how it meets our emotional needs. So I'll come back in a bit. Now we can go further and see how what is this bit about naturalness orientation? The naturalness orientation is in a contrast to what a person wants, simply in virtue of being the kind of organism one is. So like, if we are feeling very calm, very centered, settled, and we understand ourselves, and we are looking within and feeling, okay, this is what I really want, this is what I really care. That's what is naturalness orientation. And then being driven by the expectations all the time, or by the brands that they are, okay, how should I dress up because I want to look this way, or how should I be, what is the measure of success as the seen by others. So that, I think, the influence of the society as to how that conditioning is what is making us run, run, run. And that's where we are losing our autonomy to a great extent. And that's what is causing us anxiety and stress in many situations. And when we say about calmness, we don't mean that it is not about work. I think for being calm, the work can actually get better done. It's more efficiently done and more focused done. Now, what does this naturalness orientation does is that it releases that anxiety and frustrations which unconsciously pull us down because of the expectations that we feel others have from us. And then this freedom, sense of freedom and liberation from inside and contentment are the key ingredients for autonomous decision making. Now, if I were to ask you, we all care for our freedom, and for our autonomy. These are big achievements in our life. And we often feel that if we are able to make to that level of authority where, okay, I will be in control. Now, that control is not going to get us the autonomy, unfortunately. And the more the control that we are talking about, the more cognitive, the more expectations we are loading onto our system. I think the autonomy is about liberating ourselves from that control, to be, to accept. And that's what the practice we did, to be and to accept. And that 25 minutes of practice can take us through 24 hours of in that mood state and in that feeling autonomous. Now this integrity, so when we say that if we want some radical changes in the on the planet, because if we look at it, the society is in a flux, the number of people who don't have enough is increasing, the violence and the rudeness and aggression is increasing at a very large scale. So we do want change. Now, if we want change, we have to have an authenticity in it. And authenticity can only be brought by integrity. So this is a very beautiful quote for Center for Contemplative Mind in Society. The concern today is to join and integrate the search for power and material progress on one hand, with the wisdom and well-being on the other. So the general objective is a way of being that will enable people to humanize technology, realize the full promise of democracy, heal the earth, and celebrate life. And that's where I think the meditative practices and the whole kindness, love, compassion, peace, love, light, all this radiance, connectedness, interconnectedness, interdependence, all this terminology is taking us to, that we need to realize how can everyone flourish in the society. So now this contemplation and happiness science, interestingly, there are countries with a very high GDP and there are countries with a very high happiness index. And interestingly, the two they are not together, means they are poles apart. So there is some new thinking and research evolving in the area of happiness. And what is being said is happiness is not related with the facts in the conscious mind, but it emanates from something much deeper that lies at the level of connectedness with oneself. It's the liberating self, it's the freedom, it's the autonomy, it's the authenticity that puts us in a flow. And that flow is what creates the happiness, because happiness is not moments. The happiness is life. It is not that, okay, we have to find some 5 minutes of happiness in doing something. That's how the whole marketing and advertising world is pushing us to. Okay, now you have this, and this gives you this much of happiness. Now that's something, the happiness is 24 hours. So it is the integrity of thought and action in a self-assured individual with a larger sense of purpose and dignity. Now, dignity comes when we are autonomous, because when we feel that, okay, I have the self-respect, then I am also respecting somebody else. It is often the case that when we are insecure ourselves, we put violence onto the others. That's the whole field of psychology is talking about. So no wonder one often feels joyfully elated in doing something that one loves to do. So because we lose a sense of time. It is not about success and achievement, for that matter, that will bring in happiness at the end of it. It is the process of doing it joyfully. That's the happiness by itself. And what we love to do will come when I feel more autonomous. That's when I will feel more autonomous and I'll feel free. And maybe that's when the excellence will come. So it is not just about doing, it's also doing about things with an excellence, with joyfully, and with dignity. Now, a natural connection with our actions in the moment makes us feeling lost and yields joy without pursuing happiness. So the pursuit is not that of happiness. I think the pursuit is of liberation, a larger sense of purpose in life, and creating a flow with integrity of thought and action, if I were to take this into it. Now, may I request Lizzie to please
Ajay,
go back to the emotional slide. I think we missed that one
Ajay,
because yes.
this is John Hausdorfer. Can I ask you a quick question?
Good evening, Dr. John Hausdorfer, for sure. Yeah.
Hello, my friend. Good morning
Yeah.
from from your sister city in the Rockies.
Thank you. Yeah.
Being lost sometimes has a negative connotation. Can you redefine what you mean by lost?
Okay. I think most of us are struggling is the pressure of time, because we often have a checklist which is far larger than what we can accomplish, which is fine. We need to have a checklist. We need to accomplish everything that we need to do as a part of my responsibility. By being lost means that, okay, if it is something is, let's say, taking 5 more minutes, let's say if a colleague of mine is taking 5 more minutes in a meeting. Now you are a dean, let's say somebody is coming to meet you, you have deadlines to meet, but giving that patient hearing could actually mean a lot to the dignity of the other individual, despite the pressure on the time. Being lost meaning that you are lost, then you lose a sense of time for the sympathy and the compassion, because you are feeling the pinch in the other person's requirement. That's also getting lost. It is not just getting lost. So what I mean by getting lost, Dr. Hausdorfer, if I may, is that that sense of time that I have set for myself, I'm able to adjust for the excellence that it can bring, for the dignity that it can create, for the flourish, if it can help flourish someone else, or if it can create beauty in the world, then I'm not hard pressed to just finish it, but I'm lost in trying to finish it joyfully. I don't know if I've been able to say it.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Now, these emotions and beliefs, I want to reconnect with you on this one, because then the science is quite clear on this now, that it's not the rationality often which makes us act. If it was the rationality which could make us act, there is enough knowledge in the world today what we should do and what we should not do. It's the emotions that are in charge. They are in the steering wheel. And the mind is unfortunately often far too conditioned and controls the emotions. Now you can see as the first spontaneous emotion that comes to you is sometimes intuitively much more far-reaching, transcending the barriers of the mind in saying what you actually really want to do at that moment. So if there is a needy person, let's say, and I'm crossing the street, or if there is some child who is going to the school, I can give a lift. Now my immediate reaction would be to stop and give a lift, but then the mind may act, no, I don't know what kind of a person this is, and whether this school child will dirty my car seats or not, and there could be many other factors involved in it. And so the mind sometimes rationality is sometimes restricting us from doing what spontaneously our emotions want us to do. And that's what the authenticity is about. So now, how do we cleanse ourselves from within? Everybody is talking, we need to heal, we need to cleanse. what is this cleansing and healing about? This cleansing and healing about is that when we have the information coming deeply from inside us, then we are not looking for endorsements from outside. Then we are self-assured. Then we are saying, okay, this is self-evident to me because it is coming from deep inside me. And I have given myself time to understand what it is coming to me. Now, this is something which happens unconsciously during the time that the meditation happens. And it happens because there is a lot of signals and messages that in the natural world that we are getting. For example, now, the signal of harmony that we get. You look at a flower, you feel peppy and happy. What is that? Now, the arrangement of the petals is not something that we are concerned about, but it is also that the geometry, the signals. That's why people draw mandalas, because that gives you very deep cleansing effect. So the nature already has that. And so that's something which is a radiance, for example. Now we feel light, love, light, these are the key words. Now, where is this light? Where do we feel it? So if it is to be felt, sometimes we feel it, that radiance in nature, in the natural world. There is a rainbow, there is a beautiful picturesque scenery, and we certainly feel that radiance. And that radiance can be very infusing. It goes very deep, much deeper than the skin and the mind, and it affects our emotions. And that's where the emotional cleansing happens through meditative ways. So conscious thinking can prove an impediment actually in achieving a deep soothing state. And that's where the transcendental word is used in meditation and mindfulness. So what are we trying to transcend? If we say, okay, within ourselves, what we are trying to transcend is this conscious thinking, is the mind, the barrier of the mind that we are trying to transcend. And that deeply influences our awareness and enhances sensitivity. So I think that's where we are talking about deep effect of the nature on the emotions and beliefs. I'm not saying that nature is the only pathway. I'm just saying that nature is one of the pathways which is a little bit more helpful as an early student of meditation and mindfulness. So I would just conclude with this about a very beautiful quote from Joanna Macy, which she says about greening of the self. So when you look at what is happening to our world, becomes clear that unless you have some roots in the spiritual practice that holds life sacred and encourages joyful communion, facing the enormous challenges ahead becomes really impossible. So the kind of paradigm shift that we want to see in the world will happen when we start to see things in a more sacred way and celebrate life. So what is our vision then in the terms of applied work that we do at the Foundation for Contemplation of Nature? We are saying we want that this resilient leadership. Now, what the resilience means, the inner resilience and the outer resilience. The inner resilience is what I talked to you about, the whole thing about deep cleansing, altering our belief systems, giving due dignity, joyfulness of working, excellence of working. That's all about inner resilience. And the outer resilience is the skills of sustainability. That's what is happening a lot already. The universities are teaching, the new research is coming up, the new technologies are happening. Within that, there is a circle, as you know, that the two circles are intercrossing each other. And that's where we need openness, trust, new ways of thinking, and a more compassionate way of doing things. So this is the transformation leadership. We do it through a student exchange program with the Western Colorado University and many other universities. And there is a residential program of resilient leadership. We are also going to start, and I would like to at this stage thank Lizzie, who has been helping moderating the session and running the slides, that we are doing a holistic resiliency course for primary education, which means grade 2 to grade 5. I think we would like to catch them early. And this is meant for the parents and the educators and mentors of the children. So this course will have a lot of activities and a lot of suggestions and a lot of study material for the parents and the teachers, those who would like to register, and we would be announcing it shortly. While I'm here, I would like to open for questions and any suggestions that any of you have, and express my gratitude for all of you to have joined this meeting.
I thought Lizzie was to have spoken a few words on the matter. Is that correct, or am I correct in understanding that Lizzie had to address anything? Is that correct?
I could go ahead and I I didn't have anything planned actually, but I want to thank you so much, Ajay. That was a beautiful practice, and the holistic resiliency course that I've created for primary education incorporates a lot of those same concepts that we reviewed today in this session. And so I've created a number of activities that are easily accessible for younger children or people who are just beginning their practice in mindfulness and connecting with nature. And throughout the course, we look at all of the different layers that create holistic resiliency. So we think about a person's identity, how that's developed, how we connect to nature, what biophilia does for us, what our place in the community means, and how we can fortify that, identifying mental health issues and other emotional states that might contribute or distract us from mindfulness. And so it's a very holistic we holistically look at all of these layers that contribute to inner resiliency, how we think about ourselves and how a child develops. And then we've created a number of activities that will help fortify that child or the educator or parents' inner resiliency, ability to regulate their own emotions, and then act effectively in the world. And we are we will be launching the first pilot course here in about a week on January 22nd. So we are really, really excited about the start of this course. It will be open officially, the standard course, in the fall through Western and the Foundation for the Contemplation of Nature. And I'll go ahead and put some links in the chat so that all of you can learn more about those courses. Thanks so much, and I'll hand it back to Ajay and open
Excellent.
it up for questions too.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm also grateful to the various comments that are coming in the chat. And if there are any suggestions also, we would like to ask you in due course. And to enable us to work smoothly, I would like to thank our senior advisor, Mr. Ajay Prasad, who is there in the meeting today. So may I ask, Bart, you mentioned in the chat that you have done this several times. Are there very many different ways that you did it, or are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should
Thank you.
I should mention that I've only ever connected with you over email. We exchanged a few emails over the years, and so it's only from reading the very brief description of the practice in the PDF that you've sent in the past that I learned about it, and I practiced on my own, just as a regular part of my practice. But then I've been trying to convene meetings here in New Orleans, specifically around kind of an earth-based spirituality. We call it a Gaian guild, inspired by the image of Gaia. And so we have done this practice as I never heard it from your mouth, but I read about it, right? So, and I tried to share it using your words. Actually, I read the instructions to our group, and we did them. It's in a local park here in New Orleans.
Oh, how touching. So grateful to you for expressing that. Well, why don't you guys come and we can do something here together also.
Yes, I mean, I would love that.
Yeah. Thank you. I would also like to inform Bart and others that we did this was a time of online things, like last 2 years. So we did a podcast on deep ecology. And there are some 22 interviews in that. And it's available on Transistor. I can send the link to you, and then that might be interest for your Gaian group also. We have their interviews, and we are also transcripts of that interviews, which we are saying deep ecology for 21st century. And that book is online. We want to publish. We are not yet finding any support for that. But and at the same time, it's being turned into Spanish also, deep ecology for 21st century. So few chapters are already done in Spanish, which we want to release. So Bart, if you could send me a message, then I could perhaps send you the link to the deep ecology, or if I can find it, I'll post it now.
Certainly, thank you.
Can I say a few words about the practice that I enjoy? One thing that I really just love about doing this practice is that it helps me forget about the rigid boundaries of my body and my identity. And I can connect with that plant or whatever nature I'm looking at and remember that we're all made of the same stuff. And ultimately, I'm a being of light. This plant is a being of light. We're basically operating out of the same consciousness. And so it's easy for me to remember my connection to all things and forget that I'm so separate from the rest of the world. And that's what I most appreciate about this practice.
So Lizzie, are you set for the course that you've been working so hard? And I know that twice or maybe thrice, your visits have been aborted because of pandemic, because of visa, because of the flight, one thing or the other. So I hope you're quite set, sitting so far away in taking up here. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yes, we've got just a few last minute edits that I'm kind of adjusting now. But by the end of the week, definitely we will be 100% ready for parents to receive the content. And I know there has been a few ups and downs, and travel has been travel has been a thing with the pandemic, but I'm very much still looking forward to meeting you all, perhaps in the spring or summer. And maybe I can help facilitate some of the course when it's running this summer. So
All right.
I very much look forward to meeting you in person still, and we're very much excited for the launch of this course in a week here.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today too. It's great to see you here.
And it's great to see the mayor being there.
Yes.
And after long, we are meeting. Mayor, how have you been? All well? Huh?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm saying it's unfortunate that your visit to India just couldn't materialize, but and I can see.
I see that there are some serious meditator here in the Vipassana tradition, Rambir. Rambir, would you like to say something as to how did you feel today? Because you are already like many years, 10 years or more into a very serious practice. So when I keep saying that this is a kindergarten primary thing, the contemplation of nature is primary grade, what do you think of it?
Not now, Ajay. I'm happy you did it, and I'm extremely thankful to you. And thanks. Nothing more.
Yeah.
So should we then say bye? And
yeah, I must thank all the participants, including our friends. I can see Shekhar and Veena, who are my next door neighbors, and of course Dr. John for sure, who's around, Sally and Jessica. Thank you very much. And the beginning has happened in the 2022. We hope all are safe and we carry on doing our things. Lizzie is about coming, so let's hope for the best. Everything goes well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
can also mention Juan from Chile, because he was there, and then Dr. Vandana Sharma, and she being a medical doctor, she found time, and everybody else, Aarti ji and Ravindra and Vijeta.
Mayor wants to say something, I think.
Okay, yes.
Mayor wants to say something.
Well, Ajay, it's truly a great pleasure to see you again. I wish it was in person again. And I just wanted to share one thought, since the moon was down and the sun was not up when we began our breakfast meditation. The darkness brought, over time, the tree and its various images out, sort of singularly, which was, I thought, a very worthwhile experience. And I wanted to share that with you, and look forward to sharing more in the future and strengthening the relationship between you and us, and together moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Veena, sir. Kind of you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye,
Thank you very
everybody.
much, Ajay and Ajay,
Thank you.
for the wonderful
Thank you.
session.
Kind of you.
Thank you, Purvesh.
Good to see you people. Rachna is also here. I can see. I saw her name. Rasna is also there. But anyway, thanks everybody who saw all joined. Can't see the full screen.
Thank you, Ajay and Ajay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much. It was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Great.
Muchas gracias, Jaime. Saludos desde Chile.
Yes, Yuan, we should talk soon.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, Lizzie.
I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting down.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah.